I'm 75 years old now, and there's something I need to tell you that took me more than half a century to understand, something I wish someone had shaken me awake and forced me to hear when I was younger, because if you're in your 60s or 70s right now, time is quieter than it used to be, but it's also louder in its own way, and you can feel it passing even when nothing is happening. And what I've learned is this. The biggest danger of aging isn't getting weaker, it's getting numb, because for most of my life I believed I was running out of time later, when in truth I was wasting it earlier, chasing things I thought mattered, waiting for permission to live, waiting to feel worthy, waiting for someday, and someday never came, not because life was cruel, but because I kept postponing it. I believed I would finally feel complete when I achieved enough, earned enough, became enough, and year after year I told myself, not yet, later, after this job, after this responsibility, after this phase, and all the while life was happening quietly in the background, in ordinary mornings and forgotten afternoons, in conversations I rushed through and moments I didn't notice. And now at 75, I can tell you with complete honesty that nothing I was chasing gave me what I thought it would. What I really wanted wasn't success or money or approval, it was peace, it was freedom, it was the feeling of being okay with myself, and that feeling never arrived with achievements. It only arrived when I finally stopped running. I spent decades believing my worth was something I had to earn, as if being alive wasn't enough, as if I had to prove I deserved to exist, and even when I reached the goals I set for myself, the emptiness stayed, because worth doesn't come from results, it comes from being here, breathing, still alive. And if you're waiting to feel worthy someday, let me save you years of suffering, you already are. I also learned that no one reaches the end of their life wishing they'd spent more time working, but many reach it wishing they'd spent more time living. And I know this because I lived the opposite way for too long, missing dinners, missing laughter, missing slow mornings, thinking I was being responsible, when in reality I was trading life for productivity. And the cruel truth is that the things we sacrifice today for tomorrow are often the things we miss most when tomorrow finally arrives. I remember thinking I had unlimited time, as if the future was guaranteed, as if there would always be another chance, another call, another visit, another year, until one day something small but terrifying happened and I realized time was not waiting for me, and that realization split my life into two parts: the years I was asleep and the years I was awake. Everyone has two lives, and the second one begins the moment you understand you only have one, and you don't need a crisis to wake you up if you're willing to listen now. I also wasted years worrying about what people thought of me, years shrinking myself, holding back dreams, avoiding risks, all because of imaginary judgments that rarely existed. And what I know now is that most people are too busy worrying about themselves to judge you, and the ones who do judge are usually the most trapped themselves. Freedom doesn't come from being admired, it comes from being unafraid, and fear stole more from me than failure ever could. Fear convinced me not to travel, not to speak, not to change, not to try, and none of that fear protected me from pain, it only protected me from living. When I finally lost someone I loved deeply, I realized something devastating. All the fear I carried did nothing to stop loss, it only stopped appreciation, and that was when I understood that true freedom isn't avoiding pain, It's no longer letting fear decide how you live. At this age, what frightens me isn't death, it's regret, because regret is heavier than any illness, and the most painful regret is realizing you postponed joy for a future that never arrived. I also learned that what we chase is rarely what we want. We chase money thinking it will bring peace, chase status thinking it will bring respect, chase perfection thinking it will bring love, but what we want are feelings, and feelings don't come from possessions, they come from presence. Simplicity gave me more than abundance ever did, because when I finally let go of excess, of clutter, of constant striving, I made room for time, for calm, for gratitude, and gratitude changed everything. The less I needed, the freer I became. And here's something no one talks about enough. Aging accelerates the moment you stop wanting things, the moment you decide life is over, the moment curiosity dies, and I've seen people with healthy bodies grow old faster than those with weaker ones simply because they stopped caring. Desire keeps you alive, not desire for achievement, but desire for experience, for learning, for connection, for something to look forward to when you wake up. Every morning now, I ask myself one simple question: what am I excited about today? And sometimes it's small, sometimes it's nothing more than a walk or a conversation or a cup of coffee, but that question keeps me moving forward. If you're in your 60s or 70s, this is not the time to shrink your life, it's the time to protect it fiercely, to move your body, to keep your mind curious, to say yes more often than no, to stop comparing yourself to who you were decades ago and start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Did you move a little today? Did you notice something beautiful? Did you laugh? That's living. Happiness isn't something you find at the end of a long road. It's something you create by paying attention, and I wish I'd understood earlier that joy isn't postponed until conditions are perfect, because perfect never comes. Happiness is now or it's never. I wasted over 50 years believing life would start later, and if there's one thing I hope you take from this, it's this: don't wait. Don't wait for permission, don't wait for motivation, don't wait for the right time. Your life is happening while you're listening to this, and the second best day to start living is today. You are not too old, you are not too late, and nothing meaningful begins with someday. Begin now, while you still can, because the most tragic thing about getting older isn't losing time, it's realizing you had it all along.